Your microphone, Mr. Mayor.
Is Wednesday, April 14th at 12:08. This BOC meeting is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Andrews,
Here.
Commissioner Price,
Here.
Commissioner Hodges,
Here.
Commissioner Douthert,
Commissioner Douthert, can you hear us?
Commissioner Douthert, are you present?
Commissioner Douthert, can you hear us?
No.
We'll call him and see what happens.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready, Bob?
Yes.
Or are you going to go ahead and call Commissioner
Okay,
Douthert?
I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. You just have to let the clerk know that you're present.
This is Commissioner Douthert. I'm present.
Thank you.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, great.
Okay, at this time, we'll take public comment. Of course, we can't walk up to the podium and say our address, but we have, what, emails for public comment?
Yes, I've got.
Okay. Can you read those into the record, please?
Sure. Before we do, just to explain to everyone, due to the current state of emergency as declared from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, there's a stay-at-home order, and the public should follow that order and practice social distancing. Therefore, persons wishing to comment on an agenda item or an issue, in this case, it's our goal-setting meeting, they've been requested previously to submit email on their comments through our website. Those comments will be read at this time.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, we have two comments that were submitted subsequent to last night's meeting. First comment is from Mr. William Gay, 423 150th Avenue in Madeira Beach. After watching the city terminate the city attorney last night, I became concerned that the city is returning to the same patterns of behavior that led our city into chaos a few years back. I am specifically commenting in opposition to the reappointment of Attorney Tom Trask and his firm Trask Degnault, the Trask firm. In his last stint as city attorney here, the city paid $135,000 in legal fees to my lawyers after it violated the Sunshine Law and Public Records Law based upon the faulty advice of Tom Trask. Trask also permitted the city to indemnify officials for violations of the Florida Ethics Code, which was also illegal. Furthermore, the Madeira Beach Town Center project was rushed through without a complete application being filed, a basic legal requirement of our city code. The Circuit Court ruled it was a violation of due process. Trask sat up on the dais and told the Commission that the application met all legal requirements. Trask similarly allowed the Holiday Isle development to be approved without compliance with the most basic code requirements. On that occasion, he again falsely assured the Commission that all legal requirements were met. These two projects resulted in multiple lawsuits and ripped apart our town. It was totally illegal, and he should have known it. The only people who could possibly want him back are the ones who benefit from these and similar development projects. Surely, there are other attorneys to consider. The second comment, public comment, is from Carol Gay, also from 423 150th Avenue in Madeira Beach. I am specifically commenting in opposition to the reappointment of Attorney Tom Trask and his firm Trask Degnault, the Trask firm. The Trask firm has left a wake of bad advice and litigation in neighboring cities. In 2016, the Trask firm advised the North Reddington Beach Town Commission to adopt a new sign code to apply to the Sweet Sage Cafe. The town was sued in federal court, lost, and paid legal fees based upon the bad advice. During the suit, the Trask firm participated in retaliation against the cafe and its owner. The Sweet Sage Cafe filed a second federal lawsuit against North Reddington Beach based upon the retaliation and the town's repeated violation of its Fourth Amendment rights at the behest of the Trask firm. The town lost again and paid legal fees. In 2018, the Trask firm told Reddington Beach to adopt a customary use ordinance declaring private land above mean high water to be public. State law prohibited such an ordinance. A federal judge recently ruled against Reddington Beach. During the suit, the town also retaliated against one of the landowners who brought the suit based upon the advice of the Trask firm. The town was found to have violated her civil rights and will be ordered to pay legal fees again. Finally, Dunedin was recently required to pay $40,000 in legal fees to a citizen's attorney for actions based on the Trask firm's representation. Clearly, this firm should not be our attorneys. That concludes the public comment that has been submitted at this time.
At this time, we'll open for discussion the topics which are goals, objectives, and priorities for year 2020-21. Floor is open.
Well, I'll jump in. You know, I asked for this at our first meeting, and really the goal or the purpose of this is pretty simple. When I first came on board, I was a complete novice to any sitting up here at this dais. I had obviously watched meetings and thought I kind of had it all figured out, but there's a lot to learn. And this was never provided to me when we sat down, so I was playing catch up from the beginning. I think it's really important, though, that we kind of go through, first off, we're required to go through the Commissioner's Handbook. And I think if we do this step by step, we can take a look at some of the things on there and make the changes that we want to make. And it's just an important exercise for us all to kind of start this year or this term on the same page, and I think that's important. I've also taken the opportunity, and maybe Patty or Clara can hand these out and get a copy over, or maybe scan a copy to get over to Commissioner Douthert. When I first got here, you can hand them out to everybody, thank you. When I first got here, I had a list of 17 items that, through my campaigning and through the, just by talking to people out on the street, things that I wanted to discuss and things that I had noticed myself. Those are the list of the first 17 things. I gave this to Jonathan Evans back in my first month in April of 2019. I was told, and what I don't want to see happen, I'm not going to regurgitate all these things, but I was told that some of these things couldn't be discussed. And I was kind of stunned by that, especially in a workshop. We should be able to discuss. We're appointed officials, okay? All of us ran against just one, in this term anyway, we ran against one person. So we received over 50% of the vote. And these are the issues that people wanted to hear. But then I was told when I got here that we couldn't talk about an issue or an item unless it was approved by 3/5 of the board, or the majority of the board, which I find to be ridiculous. You should be able, as an elected official, to talk about anything you want. I mean, there should be no vote on whether or not something gets on. And a lot of the reason that a lot of these things didn't get on is because the past administration felt uncomfortable talking about them. Well, I got a real cure for this. Don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable, that you're going to be uncomfortable talking about in the future. So, I think that that's the important message to get across here. And so the first 17 are things that I wrote down, and you can go through them and see what ones that were covered. And a lot of you, I know Commissioner Hodges and Commissioner Douthert sat on the board and know which ones were discussed and which ones weren't. The final, from the very bottom to the next page, are a bunch of issues that I think are good topics for us to get going on in the beginning. I don't want to relive the past. That's not the idea behind this. But sometimes you got to go back behind you with a broom and clean up what's in the past in order to be able to take the big jump into the future. So my suggestion for today, if nobody minds, is that we take a look at and we go through the Commissioner's Handbook and we start making the changes that we want. We can use my topics of discussion as a, kind of a framework. We can certainly, add anything you want, subtract anything you want. I'm not really, embarrassed of talking about any of these things. But again, we're going back a year on what these were. I took them right from my notes. I took them right from my Microsoft Word, so I didn't change any wording on them. So they're exactly the way they are. But I think that would be a really good place to start, is start with the Commissioner's Handbook. Let's roll through that, and then we can roll through some of these other things and kind of come to some conclusions on some of those, or if you just want to, do that today and then go through a series of other meetings. And I think that's the important thing. We're not going to solve all the problems today, but if we have a series of these meetings, I think we can really all get on the same page and kind of push forward. So that's just my suggestion.
Okay, I'd like some feedback from the rest of the commission on this and how you would like to proceed. Would you like to go with this recommendation by Commissioner Andrews?
I think it's important that we do take the time to go through all these requests, and I do not mind going through each one individually if necessary. I think that's probably the best thing to do, and talk about each one individually also.
Commissioner Price?
Well, I ran on 2, and then it turned into 3 key issues. How are we going to raise more money in the city? How are we going to unify the city? And then, as I started talking to people, how are we going to streamline our building and permitting processes? Since every third door I talked to told me it took them 4 to 6 months to get a permit to do some improvement to their home. So I'd like those 3 things added to your list if they're not already on there. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I do like the idea of starting with the handbook, running through A to Z, and then moving on to the
Okay.
hard stuff.
Commissioner Tother, input from you, please.
Commissioner
That's
Douthat?
fine. But that's fine with what they're saying.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Andrews, since this is your list, if you will, take the reins and let's start going through these one by one and get input on them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, do you want to go through, you want to do the Commissioner Handbook first and then go to these, or do you want to go to the topics first?
Well, what is your preference on this? This is something you're bringing up that apparently has been kind of riding for a year or so. So if you would like to go through your list first, we can do that, or if you want to go through the handbook first, you, I would think, have made notes on it as to where they affect the list that you have.
Yeah, sure. Has everybody kind of looked through the handbook?
Yes.
Okay. I think, that's a really good place to start. And I think the major reason why is I think we can kind of get a feel for what our roles are. And I think that was something that I missed in the beginning. I think it's also important that we kind of come together on something that, if we're going to make mistakes up here, trust me, I've made a bunch, but we're going to make mistakes up here. The ideal situation is that we handle our issues in-house. We don't have to go, the governor's office has got to be just dreadfully tired of seeing the words Madeira Beach end up on their desk, okay? They don't run our city, we do. So we should be able to handle a lot of these things, or any discrepancies, or if you think somebody's violated something, let's talk about it in-house. We've had, I just, again, I don't want to go into all of this stuff, but, we shouldn't be sending letters with the help of our attorney. Our attorney works for us as a group. Okay? We don't have individual sessions with him to discuss legal matters. He is our attorney that works for us as a collective whole. That's where, yes, the majority of us get to, we come up with something and then we discuss it with the attorney. Prior to that, we're not supposed to be having individual meetings. I also think, the one thing that really chapped me in the beginning of my term was the individual meetings to go over every agenda with the city manager. This started when I first got here, and this goes back to over the last 3 years. That has been going on. And, don't get me wrong, I think it's great to be able, if you have a question on an agenda item, to be able to go in, sit down with Bob or the city manager and discuss that issue. But to go through the whole agenda, well, why are we even reading these things? Why are we being provided with this information if we're going to be told how we're supposed to vote on it? And I kind of felt like I wasn't going to these meetings, and I was coming in here, and it really didn't matter what I had to say. The votes were already counted. We should be reading these things and coming up with our own ideas. But the main thing and the most important portion of that part of what I'm talking about is we are supposed to be operating in the sunshine. We shouldn't be having that many private discussions in order to discuss issues unless they're brought out in front of the public. So that's really where there were too much secretive, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen, regardless of what side of the majority you're on. I want to make sure that doesn't happen, that we are discussing this in front of our constituents and our citizenry, because I think it's really important that we do. And it's the law. Okay, we're supposed to be talking about that in front of everybody, not cutting secret deals and not doing, oh, okay, well, this person's going to vote for it. I've got these 3 votes. That's not how this works. We're supposed to be discussing it. These questions are natural questions that should come up, and we should have answers to them. But, when there's only one person talking, and then all of a sudden making valid points, then all of a sudden, oh, votes 3-2 the other way, sorry. And there's been no discussion on it. Yeah, I'm not good with that. I want to know the reasons why you don't believe in it. I want to know that you've talked to some of your people out there and they don't feel that this is a necessary thing. That's what a democracy is, and I think that's where really we got to head this year. And I'm sorry I've rattled on for more than 5 minutes, but I guess let's go page by page on this the city charter duties. Mr. Mayor, I'm pretty sure you probably don't. You've probably read this back and forth already, so you don't have any issues with this.
No, I've read that, and I'm good with
Okay.
everything there.
Vice Mayor, I certainly there's not really much here other than the fact that if the mayor's not here, I'm doing it. The Board of Commissioners.
Well, Doug.
Yes, sir.
Let's touch base with all of the commission on each of these too.
Certainly.
To be sure anyone wants to make any input. So, city charter duties, one is the mayor. Does anyone else have any input on that?
No.
Commissioner Dothert?
I'm good.
Okay. Item 2, Vice Mayor. Is everyone good with that?
Good.
Item 3, Board of Commissioners. City Charter, Article 4.
Wait a minute, where are you? You're on 4. Are you on 4, John? I'm sorry.
Yeah, page 1.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Ceremonial events, I have no problem with that. Anyone else have any discussion on that?
No, but I do have a suggestion, and I think it's a good idea. Whenever we have any type of schedule event, whether it be in the city or a private owner, whatever, that as many of us turn up to represent them. I think that's very important. And I think that makes it look good to the public also.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Mayor.
fine with me also, as long as we are staying apart so that we're not violating the Sunshine Law.
That's all I was going to add in there. Just make sure your communications are neutral and you're not discussing any issues that come before you. I don't want to open up a Pandora's box.
Page 2.
Page 2.
Mine doesn't have a page number. Oh, yeah, it doesn't. May I also suggest, City Clerk, if you have any suggestions or you see something that has been working, I hope the mayor would allow her to jump in as well.
And same way with you, City Manager, because as Doug was discussing talking about this, we need your input and guidance on these two. We want you to help guide this ship straight down the channel. We don't want it veering off the channel and hitting a sandbar.
Thank you.
So to ceremonial events, do we want to add another bullet point that says all commissioners are encouraged to show up and represent our city in a positive fashion without violating the Sunshine Law or something like that?
I agree with that.
I agree with
As long
that.
as we can get consensus on that. Commissioner Dothert?
My only issue with that is, in the past, anytime two of us got together, somebody was screaming, "Oh, sunshine violation, sunshine violation." What's to stop that from happening again if you're at Christmas tree lighting or whatever the case may be, and two or three of you are standing there talking, people bringing up the same issue? You know, do you want to go through that every time? And that's why we kind of went to the point of, you know, not doing all the ceremonial type of thing. Because even, I remember at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony once, the mayor, you know, was there and I was there and someone else was there, and oh, you guys are talking. You know, you're violating the sunshine law. You know, where does it stop? I don't know. But that's what's going to happen again.
In the past, we've done that before with the ceremony for the tree lighting and other events that we all got together as a commission unit. And we never had that problem of sitting there conversing, you know, what's going on at City Hall. We didn't talk about that. That was one thing we didn't talk about. Anyone could have come up and joined in the conversation as if they really belonged there. And I just kind of resent that to the point that every time you turn around, I'm sitting here with Happy. Someone says, "Oh, you're talking with her. Shame on you." I don't want to go through that. That's ridiculous. And I think if we keep it under a sociable atmosphere of doing the job we're supposed to do, that's one thing. But you don't discuss city business, and you should know better than that.
I think we all know better than that, and I agree. I think that's something we could do. I think it's time that a lot of people here lay down their swords and become a part of this community and help bring this community together.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add on that topic, Clara, is there a notice provision that you're required to put out if we know ahead of time that more than one commissioner is going to be attending? Okay, so
Right.
there's no requirement. Right. Okay, I just wanted
But
to
what about a
double check.
ribbon cutting?
Right, we've done that before.
Yeah, there's no notice because we're not discussing city topics, or we're not discussing anything we're going to be voting on.
Well, same thing with the seafood festival. We've gotten together on that.
Right.
Well, I support including a bullet point, invite all commissioners.
I do too.
No, I support it as well. And I think, you know, Commissioner Douthert, I agree with you. In the past, it has been a problem. And I think part of the problem is that we all don't have each other's backs. And I think if we make a pact between us, look, there's nobody that can say there's a violation unless one of us gives out information that this was being discussed. So where they overhear you discussing, and then you have committed a violation. So, you know, I just, it's time to bury this stuff and start moving forward. We got a pandemic in front of us, okay? We've got a lot of work to do. So this to me is a little issue, and nobody's ever gotten hand slapped for this violation in the past. So I think we just got to move forward and try to at least show a front of unity now.
Mr. Andrews, that is not true. Part of that was when Mayor Hendrick was trying to have Commissioner Oakley and myself off the board. They brought up the Sunshine Law, us talk. So don't say it's not going to happen. And you know, it did happen, and it happened with people that's on the board presently. So that's why I'm bringing this up.
So I'd like to get a consensus on this. Do we need to call the roll on this, City Clerk, or just
Head shakes, man.
Okay.
I'm in favor of
Just a
adding it.
consensus.
Yes, in favor.
It's a workshop.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we do have a consensus. Item 2, official correspondence. Do we have any comments on this?
When I read through this, I just made a note at the bottom, notice to other commissioners. I didn't read it just now again, but it seemed to me, first time I studied this, I thought, before we start sending individual correspondence out on city letterhead as a commissioner, shouldn't we be discussing it amongst us? I mean, if I'm going to put myself out, unless I specifically say in the letter that this is personal, and in that case, it's not going on city letterhead. I mean, shouldn't that be something we discuss before someone comes out and sends a letter to the editor about something that blindsides one of us or undermines something?
I agree wholeheartedly. This happened to me, but, and somebody used city postage in order to do so. And, we're supposed to be discussing things as a group. Again, if we have problems with each other, let's discuss them. But I don't really even, I guess there are some circumstances where you might have to respond to something at the state level. If you get an individual complaint or something to you, that you would have to use city. But we're supposed to be one voice. Regardless of the split, we're supposed to be one voice. So I don't see any real reason why we should even be writing anything on letterhead. I mean, unless it's a thank you note to to the school for inviting you to lunch or something like that. I really don't. But you don't use taxpayer funds to mail anything. These are common sense things that we shouldn't even be discussing them, to be honest.
So maybe that second sentence, however, before sending correspondence, the commission members shall check with the city manager or the city clerk to see if an official response has already been done. Maybe to that we add and noticed, other commissioners.
I have a suggestion. It's better to, if there's something that needs to be addressed, usually you all are directing the city manager to send a letter to some organization or whatever, and then just designating the mayor or the city manager at the meeting to send this letter on behalf of the Board of Commissioners of whatever you're deciding on or favoring, because sometimes the communications come through a resolution maybe to the legislature or supporting something that the county might have going on or the state. And so that's usually how it comes about, is a resolution or a letter about a traffic light or something like that. And, you can designate somebody to send that or a copy of that if it's by resolution, or instead of everybody just taking some letterhead and sending out letters.
And that's what I want to avoid. I mean, let's talk about if we're sending out, I think we should tell each other if we're sending out a letter about, in our official capacity with an opinion on something, I understand this first bullet point is to don't jump the gun and send out a letter because the city may already have had a position on it and responded. But.
Well, a question I have on this, though, is, as I'm sure you all have, I've gotten a few emails with residents asking questions or asking my view on things. That's correspondence. I would think we can share our own views through email. We're not answering for the entire commission. There are still 5 people on this commission. But certainly, I would think we can share our personal view on an item with a resident of Madeira Beach.
Right, and that's not on a letterhead or anything.
Right, okay.
Well,
And now that I see it, it's addressed in the very next bullet point.
Okay.
So maybe we,
can I just mention, though, just under that statement that you made, I don't want you to get into another situation, if you express your viewpoint and it's something that's going to be coming up before the commission, and whoever you express that to goes, back and they're talking to somebody else, and, they put it on Nextdoor or they do whatever. Yeah. Those are issues that you just got to really be careful about with the, the sunshine law violations and stuff. So, and especially if it's a quasi-judicial situation where you have a developer coming and you might feel that way, but explaining that you already are prejudged before that could have a harm in the proceedings. And, anybody can change their mind when they come here, either one of you. You could be set in your mind when you read through a packet or something that, hey, I understand this, but then maybe you hear something and that might change the way that your thought process is. So But I just want to make sure that you all are protected and make sure when you, even if you give your personal opinion, it might be something that could come up later on.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Probably I will be forwarding a lot of emails to you, Bob.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You know,
And so what do we do? We
so
write
that
back and
we're on
say,
the-
due to the sunshine law, I'm kind of precluded from making a comment.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting to, but I will forward this to the powers
Right.
that be.
And obviously,
I mean,
if
is
it's
that it?
something, I'm sorry.
No.
If it's something more on the day-to-day administration, you can send it to me and I'll answer and CC, you and whatever commissioner it might be. But as the mayor, you're going to receive a lot of requests. Like, you might have somebody that's going for their Eagle Scout and they want a letter, or they attained Eagle Scout and you want to do a congratulations letter. There are things, just because you are the honorary spokesperson for the commission, you'll get called upon for different things a lot more than the other commissioners might, or the vice mayor acting in your stead. So those are all things that you're going to run up against, but whatever your policy is, I agree that there should be something. So like Commissioner Andrews says, it's not right for a member of the board just to go off on a journey somewhere without you all knowing it.
Agreed.
Like keeping your back, and I think that's the most important thing.
And emails are discussed a little later in here, but it's emails with the media. Just so everybody's clear, and Clara, please correct me if I'm wrong. When we will receive a lot of emails as a group, and sometimes when they're from residents, it doesn't say on the bottom, like Clara always does, do not respond to all on this and go that route. But my question is, so let's say there's a topic, and I don't really know of a particular scenario where this works, but there's a group email that goes out to all the commissioners. And Bob will send back a response saying the commissioners can't respond to this individually. Well, it's happened before in the past where then that person decides to email us each individually with the same question. Now, where do we go from here? Do we ignore their email, or do we respond with our viewpoint on their certain circumstance? Most of the time, it's probably going to be a circumstance we're not familiar with, because every time you get an email, it's about something pinpointed, particular about, oh, I'm trying to build this addition onto my house, and you haven't been to their house, so you don't know what they're talking about. But there are more generic issues that they talk about that we can answer. So what is our stance on that? If we're on the email individually, can we respond to that, or should we respond to that?
I think where it gets really sticky is if it's a quasi-judicial situation where you're going to have a hearing, even on the liquor licenses. You might be going into a restaurant and not even knowing that they've got an application coming up for a liquor license, say, and you say, oh yeah, I think you should get this. Well, really, as being a commissioner, you shouldn't be saying your opinion ahead of the time of the hearing. You're not supposed to, from my understanding of the law, and again, I'm not an attorney, but those are communications that you really have to be careful of. Say the recycling aspect, when we had a recycling contract, I think that was well out in the open, on the discussion of what we're going to do about recycling, and it was well researched by the Board of Commissioners at the time, and so that was already made public what the idea, thought process was on it, and that wasn't a quasi-judicial situation. So just kind of using that as kind of an example might be helpful. But if you ever have a doubt on something, the city attorney or myself, and I can make sure that we get information. Not that I want to monitor everything, but I am a resource for you. So use me.
And I can tell you, anyone who emails you about the fact that they aren't able to put an addition on their house or something, that is going to turn into a hearing in front of our magistrate, so that is definitely going to be a quasi-judicial situation. And that's what I'm getting so much of from people, so hopefully that'll slow down. Okay, well.
Commissioner Dother, do you have any input on this?
not at this time.
Okay.
So do you have any tweaks to the official correspondence on number 2? At this time?
I think we're good on
I think so, too.
item 2, City Clerk. Okay, number 3, public communications. I've read through this, and I didn't have any problems with it. The floor is open to the other commissioners to make their comments on it.
I just think the second and third bullet point should be combined. I don't think I think was the intent as I read through it. I thought the third bullet point should have just been a continuation of the second one.
And how would you like to phrase that?
Just take the third bullet point off and add, commission members may give a brief overview description.
Okay.
Stick it at the end of the second one.
Just
I mean,
continue the
Otherwise,
entire-
it's not really a standalone bullet point.
Okay, and just
was my
continue that sentence up with
observation.
the other bullet
Yeah.
point. Is everyone fine with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other items on here that anyone would like to discuss? There is one here. Commission members may not make any personal comments, verbal or nonverbal, about other commission members. I don't want to change it. I just want to point it out. Okay, number 3, commission conduct with city staff.
I thought this section was a little confusing. As far as, at first it comes out very bold and says at the bottom of the, I guess, number 1, bullet point 1, second paragraph, Board of Commissioners may express its views and fully and freely discuss with the manager anything pertaining to the appointment and removal of officers and employees. And then the next 2 pages pretty much go on and say you can't say anything about, and you can't try to influence, and you can't. So
Well,
certainly, I think if I'm having an issue with an employee, I can go to the bottom and my city manager and say, hey, this person isn't responding, or they're not giving me some grief, or whatever, and I'm going to expect something to be done. I'm not going to say I want them fired. I know I can't do that, or I want so-and-so hired, but I think I can. Clara, I see you wanting to add something. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just wanted to mention that the information in those quotes are directly from the city charter. So out of that right there, you can add something for clarification, not in the quotations, but maybe something after each of those.
Well,
or-
I like that phrase. If that's in the charter rules, so that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
No, I mean, you can add comments for that section, but we can't change the,
Oh, no,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
I understand.
That's,
Yeah, no,
I just wanted to point out, that's where that information came from, was directly from the charter.
yeah, that's the very sentence that I had highlighted.
because like in the very next paragraph,
Yeah.
it says, city manager, okay, there's a very long sentence, the Board of Commissioners, individually or collectively, shall not direct or request the appointment of any person or his or her removal from office, blah, 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 directly or indirectly. See, it's just, I'm allowed to go to him and express my view about pertaining to an appointment and removal of officers, employees, but here I cannot indirectly take part in the removal of the employees. I mean, if an employee did something really bad and I witnessed it, I mean, commissioner or not, and I walked in here and said, hey, this is what this person did in public and said this or that or whatever, I would expect an investigation, and then I would be indirectly responsible for their removal, I would think.
Right.
Well, we also have an employee's handbook that we've got to follow so that there's progressive discipline involved depending on what it is also.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a matter of following the rules. Let me give you a hypothetical, okay? Let's say somebody's hired as a director in a certain department, and a sitting commissioner finds out some information about their last job and how they left their last job. Well, that commissioner, even in section 4.6C, they're not allowed interference in the administration, but they can certainly do an investigation into what they heard. So if you go to the former city and you get the information about that person, and then take that, if the information is damning enough, you take that information to the city manager and you suggest. You're allowed to suggest, you're not allowed to demand. I think that's probably the best way to do it. You can make any suggestion you want. You're allowed to talk. It says it right here. You're freely allowed to express your views.
Okay.
Now, what you can't say is, hey, Bob,
Fire him.
get rid of him now. Okay, I don't like the way he looks. I don't like, he doesn't fit in, things like that.
Right.
Okay, can't do that. But you can certainly, and you have every right to express your views with the different departments and different things. You're not, we're not supposed to be, and I think a lot of this will go into this in a minute. You're not supposed to be, setting meetings with the public works director by yourself. You're not allowed, but if you're doing an investigation, all you got to do is let Bob, hey, look, I need to talk to Jamie about XYZ. I've got some questions. I just want to ask him directly and find out. I'm sure Bob won't have any problem with that. But I think that's the important distinction, Abby, is the between a suggestion and a demand. So if you write in an email, I want him fired immediately, that sounds like a demand to me. If you say, in my personal opinion, I think we ought to move on from this hire because I think we've just endangered our, if you're looking out for the best interest of the city, I don't think anybody could ever haunt you or say that you're doing something wrong if you're giving a recommendation.
May I comment? In the city charter, section 4.9, investigations, and this would cover a part where if you hear something or whatever and you want something looked into, it says the Board of Commissioners may make investigations into the affairs of the city by appointing a charter officer to investigate internal affairs of the city and report those findings to the Board of Commissioners. Okay. So I'm assuming if that should happen, then that report comes back. The Board of Commissioners can weigh in on that.
Yeah.
Because it was something crucial enough to look into.
And it's got a clarification on here. The Board of Commissioners, nor any member thereof shall give orders to any subordinate or officer of said city, either publicly or privately, directly or indirectly. So all it says is we can give our opinion, we just can't order the employees what to do, so.
Would you want that little section added somewhere in there about internal investigation, if there should be something that arises?
Can I get some input from the board?
Well, I mean, it's in the charter. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see there's any real reason to add it, Clara, unless you think it needs to be in there. I mean, these things kind of work hand in hand. Nothing in here compromises that statement, right? So.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question for Clara. On the handbook, the items that are like really bolded, and was that because it's the charter language, or is that just something that for some reason those paragraphs got placed in bold? You follow me?
Yeah.
It looks like it was direct, because it's got the quotations on it. 'Cause
So our
everything-
charter
yeah.
has kind of confusing, because I was going to say, let's
Yes.
take out this part here and end it with no cannot request the removal or appointment thereof, bang. Why go on and then go into this direct, indirect, squishy language? But if that's in the charter, then I
Right.
guess we have no, then that's something we have to deal with on a different level.
So then are we good?
Yeah. And it is in the charter, so, okay.
Okay.
I guess
So-
at least we have an understanding what it means now.
So leave it as written then? Commissioner Dother?
That's fine.
Okay. Item 2, check with city staff on correspondence before taking action.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a no-brainer there. Anyone else have any input? That's all of my input.
No, keep going.
Number 3, do not attend meetings with city staff unless requested by staff. Is that something we want to leave in here? Or do we want to be able to sit in on a staff meeting? Or do we just want to request sitting in on a staff meeting with a city manager?
They said when you attend a city event or a city meeting with another committee, sometimes your presence intimidates them a little bit. So I don't know if that's good to do, even though you're just sitting there listening to what's happening.
I would change it to say, do not attend meetings with city staff unless requested by the department head. I
And you
mean, because
cannot
if an
get-
employee comes up and asks me, hey, come sit in on our meetings, I don't like the way they're run, I don't want to do that.
No.
But if their director says, hey, I know you have some expertise in something, can you come show us, or,
They'd have
you
to
know,
come
can
to
you
the
come in
meeting.
and listen to this or whatever, then I'm happy to. But I wouldn't want to be asked by an hourly employee, I guess. I wouldn't want to attend.
Yeah, I agree.
I would want
Yeah.
to rather be invited by the person who runs that department.
It would seem to me like with city staff, I don't think I would do it because if it's something that might result in coming back to the board for approval of a contract or a repair for them to approve, and then that's meeting outside the sunshine if there's 2 commissioners there. It's not limited.
So do we want to change that to unless requested by department
Department
director?
head,
Department
Executive
director?
staff.
and then maybe only one commissioner attend or something. I don't know.
And I really think if a department director invites a commission member to a meeting, he or she should probably go through the city manager for that invitation.
Okay. Yeah, I would never, like, show up.
Okay, city clerk, have you got that?
Yes, sir.
Do not attend meetings with city staff unless requested by department director through the city manager. Commissioner Dothert, are you good with that?
That's fine.
Okay. Are we all in agreement then?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4, limit requests for staff support.
No issue, no problem for me.
May I have some input on item 4?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I,
Four's fine, five's
Yeah, I
fine.
think-
I'm
You know.
fine with it.
We need to, yeah.
Commissioner Dothert? Item 4, limit requests for staff support. Are you good with that also?
Yes. And, Mayor, my name is pronounced Douthert, not Duthert. It's Douthert.
Well, I said Dothert. I didn't say Duthert, but I stand corrected.
Dow.
Down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Item 5, do not solicit political support from staff.
No problem.
I think that's a given.
Yeah.
I think we all know that. Is there any changes anyone would like to make on that? Commission conduct with the public. Number 1 on there is in public meetings.
Fine.
Can I add in, while we're in that virtual mode, you know, you might be requested to have your computer with you, as we did yesterday. I don't know if we need to throw a caveat in there, or we just realize that that's an emergency situation, and that's why we're doing it.
Well, this may end up as we get, all us old guys get dragged into the 21st century. This may become more of a way to do business. So I wonder if we need to look at that a little bit
I'll
on,
just put a comma at the end and say,
other
unless
than-
required by the,
other than city-issued laptops, or, you know, I don't know what.
I'd just say unless required to conduct the meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, we may be in a workshop and have a burning question, and somebody pulls out their cell phone and can get the answer immediately. You know,
Hey,
I mean,
Google.
it may be helpful to have that, but.
So, how would you like that worded? Commissioner Price?
Maybe just put a comma after the word public meeting.
Unless authorized by the commission, because you all can make that decision, and,
Okay.
I mean, we
I like
trust you with
that.
much harder decisions,
Unless
so.
authorized by the commission, exactly.
Sorry to
Yeah.
throw words out at you.
No,
No.
that was better. I was thinking of emergency and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so
Well,
that's a
and
better,
that covers the thing, if you had to look something up
Right.
on your
yeah.
iPhone or something.
The next item under number 1 is, under public meetings, Board of Commissioners shall make the public feel welcome. There is one thing I want to bring up on this, that's that last sentence. Commission members should be fair and impartial in listening to the public during a public meeting. And that brings up a point, and I didn't see it anywhere in here, and I have, before I was in office, did an open records request, wanting documentation on yielding time during a public meeting. And there is nothing in here about not being able to yield time. And I want it to understood that time can be yielded. It is not written anywhere, and apparently it was not ever discussed.
We should put that in the section when we limit people to 3 minutes. And that's, I don't know where that is, it's coming up, though,
Okay.
if that's what we want to do.
That's fine with me.
I don't have any problem with really anything on page 5 or 6, for that matter. Just in an effort to get through this.
Yeah, and you know what I would like to do too, it's 1 o'clock now. This may be out of order. I think maybe we should limit this meeting to 2 hours and go as far as we can in 2 hours, and then we'll pick it up at another time. Is everyone agreeable to that?
That's fine.
Okay, this is probably where you're talking about this, Commissioner Price. Provide guidelines regarding the amount of time an individual must address the board or commission. Is this where we want
Actually, it's.
to insert that, or?
It's actually spelled out. Well, all right, this document is 3 times longer than it needs to be, number one. This is actually spelled out in the Article 3, the rules of procedure for board commissioner meetings. We have a lot of the same stuff in Section 1, you know, Article 1 that we do in Article 3. Article 3 is a little more practical. But Article 3 is really where we get to make changes.
So I can't help you with that at the moment.
Did I say Siri?
That's, at least you know I have it in airplane mode.
Article 1 is a lot of charter stuff and blah, 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 but as far as getting down to the nitty-gritty on how to run a meeting, Article 3 is where we're going to be inserting our.
Is it Article 3?
Yeah, it's at the end. I don't even know why Article 2 is in here at all, to be honest with you. Isn't that the whole section about volunteers?
The heading one.
There's 3 headings in this document.
There's 5. There's 4.
We can take out the.
It just seems like Article 1 kind of lays out the rules and lays out the charter and expectations in general. And then Article 3 is where we get down to the rules of procedure. And that's where the 3 minutes is listed. And I think we need to say, you know, add in, since we're generally requiring it, name and address and things of that. And that's where the specifics are.
Can you give me a page number?
Okay, 16 is the beginning of Article 3. And that's where, again, a lot of duplication with Article 1, but this is where the specifics are laid out, the types of meetings that we have, who presides. This is where I got most of my notes. As far as adding things or taking things away.
Okay, so what specifically are you interested in
Well, I don't.
scratching to reduce the redundancy?
Well, I mean, we could keep Article 1 and maybe rename it as kind of more general rules. I mean, this just seems to be more than it needs to be. Official communications and representations of city protocol, okay. In general. And then if you go to Article 2, I don't even know why that's attached to this. This is where we talk about volunteers and awards to employees, some of it which do not even involve commissioners at all. So I think Article 2 goes in the city, not handbook, but
In the
somewhere
personnel.
else or deleted completely.
Yeah, we can remove that,
Yes, let's get rid of
And
Article 2.
renumber.
It doesn't belong in this document at all.
right, and renumber the article.
Article 2 is Community Recognition Awards Policy. That, to me, that's,
Yeah, that was something the
yeah,
former
that
city
shouldn't be
manager
part
put in
of our
there.
discussion today, in my
Yep.
view.
True.
And then,
I agree.
yeah, and then Article 3 is kind of the more specifics and the backup to Article 1. I mean, I don't mind in Article 1 being told to be cordial and that you're not allowed to send out correspondences and things like that. And I know that's all very important, but when we get down to the specifics of how long somebody can speak, the 3 minutes, that's in Article 3. And whether we were going to allow someone to, I forgot the term you used, give their time to somebody else? What was it? Yield
their time.
You know, that's where I think that should go in Article 3.
Okay, well, as, you know, as I was going through this handbook, I was making notes as I read through it.
Yeah,
You got a lot farther through than I did, because number 4 on here, designate a specific period of time for public comment.
right.
And
I just
maybe
don't know
that's,
if we
maybe
put it
that
in
is,
both places. We can put it in both places.
and is that simply saying this public comment needs to be on the agenda? Or is that, you say we've got the 3 minutes later on in Article 3?
Yes.
Okay.
I pretty much sat down and read this all in one sitting.
Yeah.
And when I leaned back, I thought, okay, Article 2 out. Article 3 is really what we need to be discussing.
Yeah. Well, it's,
But I like the changes we're making to 1 to clarify it, you know, because I also am coming in here as a newbie and not understanding a lot of things, and so I need to be taught by people here.
yeah, and, you know, maybe a little bit of the redundancy is okay simply because as we rewrite this, it will be passed on
Right,
basically generation to generation.
right.
You know, for them to do
So-
their alterations on it, but at least they'll know where they're coming from and where they're going.
It appears to me, when we go back to page 5 and 6, that it's just recapping what the Florida statute says is involved in a municipal hearing or municipal meeting. And then when we get into Article 3 is when we specifically apply these things to how we want our meetings to be run. Because it's quoting the bottom of 5 and the top of page 6, it's quoting the Florida statute about a public meeting. So I don't think we could or want to change that.
I don't know that we can change
Yeah.
it if it's Florida statute. So I would say we're good, at least down to Pledge of Civility.
Yep. And I like that.
So is everyone good with that then? In public meetings?
I am.
Okay. Pledge of Civility? I'm okay with that.
Yep, that's great.
Is everyone else okay with that?
Yes. Mission statements, fine.
Mission statements, fine with me. Has anyone else got any comments on that?
No issues.
Unofficial settings? I like that. Anyone, any other comments? Official forms of media?
Fine.
No problem.
Monthly city managers report?
No changes.
Website?
That's fine.
One thing on website, city manager, I would like to see it kept a little more up to date. I know they've had their hands full, but I know back in December, I was looking for a location for your breakfast with Bob because frankly, I was really starving that morning. And so I went to the website, and it wasn't on there.
Part of that was handled with some of the changes I made on staff, so hopefully
Okay.
that won't be
Okay.
recurring.
Government access channel. Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
The only thing, if I may, we're predicated on spectrum, you know, with the channel and even what we have, and some of the issues that we're having, technically, I gotta talk into the mic, I'm sorry. But some of the issues that we're having technically right now that we've been experiencing is attributed to the spectrum connection. I know we've got some issues with our boards, but we basically put everything out as a high definition quality. But when they gave us the equipment, when the building was put in and the equipment was installed, they kept it analog on their end. So, which we had a fix for that, but now things are so technologically advanced, it's really outdating that. So we're trying to work with them to update their equipment as well. And, you know, hopefully that'll be part of the overall solution we have. So we're also, when it says channel 640, that's our attempt to get that done. But right now, as you know, we've been having these problems. So, you know, I don't know if you want to change it to 640 or alternative measures, you know, because we've been able to do it off of our website, and everybody can go on and click the one button and access our meetings, instead of, you know, saying, hey, it's got to be 640, because that might be outside of our control.
So we need or the city website on there?
Well, the heading of this is government access channel. I think we just
Yeah,
say,
it's true.
guess
Well,
what? We
yeah.
have a government
Yeah.
access channel.
Okay.
Maybe under website, we put
Yeah.
meetings can be found. I mean, I don't think we need to explain that here in this handbook.
Well, maybe we just need to put like a caveat in here, though, which is supplied by Spectrum, because they're in control of it, we aren't.
Right.
Well, you know, this is a subject for a whole nother time, but maybe we need to look at getting some other cable companies other than just Spectrum in Madeira Beach. I don't know how that's going to work out, but
I'm working on getting
They're-
the franchise agreement that we have.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
they're
in the process.
they're the only game in town, and it's too expensive for my blood. That's why I've got an antenna up. Video live streaming. Is everyone
Here we
okay?
go. This is where, yeah.
I think they're YouTubing also. Is that considered the same thing?
Right, because as the public doesn't really know what platform we're using, they just go to the website, they click the button,
Oh.
and if we're on live stream, it's live stream, but it's still live streaming, but it could be using a YouTube platform. They don't know that. You know, they don't know they're on YouTube. We're supplying the best platform that we can for that particular meeting.
Now, for older meetings, can one go to YouTube and put in Madeira Beach City Commission meetings and pull it up on YouTube that way?
I'll have to ask Kurt. Yeah. Or your lollipop microphone.
Kurt, we need to get you some roller skates.
Well, I didn't want you to move in. I just sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. YouTube is the preferred method. It's the direction that most communities are going to. It's high definition, the signal is better, the picture is better, the audio quality is better. That being said, our older archived videos are on another service called Livestream, which is not kept up to speed in technology. To download all of those videos, and I'd have to check with the clerk, I'm not sure what the records retention schedule is for commission meetings, if there is one at all, would take a significant amount of time, and then uploading them to YouTube. The short answer to your question is, yes, if we upload the archive videos to the YouTube channel, they would be available there. How much time that would take, I can't tell you right now.
But the newer ones that we're doing,
Oh, absolutely.
Like from this point forward, say, if somebody wants to go and look at it,
Yes.
you know, over the weekend, they can just go to YouTube and simply put in Madeira Beach.
They're
Commission
automatically
meeting.
archived on the YouTube channel after they
Okay,
play.
Good.
And they are, I'm sorry, they are archived as well here on our website.
Right. Okay.
And the older ones are on our website, just not via YouTube.
No.
So,
They're in a different filing cabinet, if you will. The filing cabinet with the older ones is called Live Stream, which is a different service. The most recent ones are YouTube in a different filing cabinet.
While we're on this subject, both on Government Access Channel and video live streaming, I would like us to put in there that candidate forums will be live streamed and on the government channel.
I'd say anything that occurs here that
Yeah.
people would be interested
Yeah.
in.
That's because that's a public service to our residents.
Can we just add another little caveat to that? Even if it involves utilizing city personnel.
Sure. Sure. That's not picking one side or another. It's simply getting the information
Right,
out
getting
to the
information out.
residents. Patty, did you get that down? Okay, thank you. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Five, commission conduct with other public agencies.
No changes from me.
Good here. Commissioner Douthat, are you good with five? Commission conduct with
Yeah.
other, okay. Okay,
All good.
okay, we're going on to six.
Actually, I'm sorry, there's something under 5 that was on page 9 that I thought needed, in the paragraph that begins on the top of page 9, right after the word however, if city letterhead is used to express an individual opinion, blah, 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 strike it. I don't think we should be using city letterhead to express a personal opinion.
Okay, what sentence is that?
Top of page 9, the first full sentence that begins with however, the very top. It's the last 2 sentences of that section. I mean, that whole section's kind of squishy. I think we pretty much decided we're not writing personal things on company letterhead or city letterhead.
Yeah, I agree, strike that. First of all, it's really confusing, and secondly, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're certainly allowed to have a different opinion than what's been stated by the board or been voted on by the board, but you probably shouldn't be putting it in letterhead and out to the public. I don't know, and especially not on city letterhead.
Well, there is that sentence, city letterhead should be used for official city business and shall not be used for personal correspondence or for blah. That sentence actually is a good one, but
Yeah.
the one before didn't even, we're not even entertaining that as a possibility, so.
Well, and we've discussed that before. We
Yeah.
could probably just, after public record and place on the website, it is best for the city, that the city letterhead not be used. From there on can just be stricken because we're not supposed to be putting our personal opinion on the letterhead. Is that-
Right.
Okay. So we scratch from it is down from that entire paragraph.
What? Okay, I would say from the word however.
Okay.
Get rid of that complete sentence and just leave everything else.
Agreed.
I'm good with that.
So we're leaving in city letterhead should only be used for official city business and shall not be used for personal correspondence
Yes.
or for any election. So, look, I have a problem with approving a commissioner's letter, though. I mean, if you're sending a letter out as official correspondence, you're following these rules, why do I have to approve it, or Clara? I mean, if you have a question whether, you know, that correspondence is appropriate, I mean, we'll answer any questions, but I don't think you need my approval for that.
Maybe a commission. Since we
Well,
decided
yeah.
we're not going to send anything out with each other's knowledge.
Or do we just have the city manager mail out the letter
Under his
With-
signature, you mean?
under his signature? Yes.
Well, he may not want to put his name on, I don't know.
Well, if it's acted by this commission, I mean, that's, you
Yeah.
know, I think that's maybe the reason why that was in there, is just to ensure that whatever the correspondence is, it's double-checked that it's from the BOC.
Yeah.
It's not from an individual.
Right.
But again, you know, that's more for
Well,
you
we
all
need to check with you to make sure that the city as a whole has not already addressed it
Right,
anyway.
because we've talked about that.
So-
Okay,
So,
well, just so you know, I'm not going to go out and approve stuff for you all, because you don't need that.
Well,
But
and-
yes, I understand in that vein.
Yeah.
Well, certainly there are going to be commissioners, though, that disagree with each other on certain items on the agenda, and they may have their own opinion, and they may have a constituent asking them about their position on something that's coming before the board. In reality, I would think you've got a right to talk to your constituents about how you feel about a certain issue. Now,
But do you wanna put it on a letterhead with
I don't
city-
think we want to put it on
Yeah.
a city letterhead, but you
Right.
can certainly write a letter or email, you know, from you personally on your views personally on this subject.
Yeah.
Just not put it on a city letterhead. Am I right on that, or am I off base?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think you want it on paper. I do have a question, though, Clara. Once we do approve this, if in 6 weeks or so, we double back and we say, oh, gosh, I don't like the way that reads, or I think we need to change that, we're allowed to make changes in a regular board meeting. We can make changes to this document, right? Okay.
Claire, you have to speak into the mic, please.
You can make changes, and it has it in here, on the last page, I think.
Okay, I thought I
All right.
read that.
That's
You
all
can
we
make
got.
the changes by resolution.
Okay.
Go by it, and when it comes time to adopt it again within the 90 days after the election, it gets incorporated all together in one document.
Gotcha, okay. So, yeah, I mean, so it's important that we go through this, but if we do find something later on that we need to change, we can always go back and double back and find it.
Well,
Okay.
we'll have a draft made of what we've decided on, and then we have
Sure.
the rest of the 90-day period to do it, anything
Correct.
more to it. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to scratch everything after however?
No, we're just going to scratch that sentence.
In the last sentence. So you're going to take out.
Okay, and the last sentence. Since we've already addressed, because this is more about the content.
Right.
The other one was more about duplicate
Doing it.
efforts, yeah, okay.
Okay, is everyone good with that now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 6, commission conduct with boards and committees.
I don't have a whole lot of problem with the language in here, but I think that we have to really, really delve into this at some point, because I think that we have strayed away from including these are our committees, okay? It says it here in the first sentence. These serve as advisors to the Board of Commissioners. We should be meeting with these guys regularly. If they have a problem, if an issue comes up, and we've had issues come up in these boards. We've had, we've got a bid committee that, I mean, there's been dozens of bids that have gone through that are over $15,000 that nobody's even, that we've never even gotten to the bid committee. There's been issues with the Civil Service Board, as you know, John, being the lead of it at one point. I think we need to be much more involved with what's going on there, because these are our liaisons. These are our right hands. The Planning Commission, heck, I mean, we should have so much trust in our Planning Commission that once something gets to us, and that should be, we should have a pretty clear understanding that that's their expertise, that we put them in charge of doing that. So I think we need to have regular meetings with these guys and be able to, and make smart appointments. I mean, we just shouldn't be hiring our friends. We need to be doing some real partisan work on this in order to get as many different viewpoints as possible. They can't all be, 5 retired people or 5, moms that are home with their kids during the day. I mean, they need to be a diverse group to be able to represent the interests of the city and be willing to work. And I think that makes for a much better board, and it gives us a better, broader view of what our constituents want. So while I don't have a whole lot of issues with this, and I don't think we should be influencing them in a lot of ways, but there's going to be questions that they have, and there's going to be issues that they have, and we should be addressing them, and I don't think the city manager should. I think we should be addressing our boards and being able to help them.
Well, maybe when we get to the meeting section, when we detail our meetings, I don't know how many boards we have or how many commissions are out there, okay? I'm going to make it up and say there's 8. So we'll have pick 2 to come in every meeting and do a report once a month. So in 4 months, we will have heard from everybody, and then month number 5, we hear from the first one again. I mean, at a minimum. I mean, obviously, things come up, and we're going to want to come to meetings to address specific things, but maybe status reports. I mean, I don't know if we want to burden these people on some of these committees to come in every month to do a status report. Oh, yes?
Some of the committees doesn't meet for months.
Some of the committees, I'm sorry.
They don't meet for many months. It all depends on what's going on.
Right.
It's like civil service, they may meet.
And then that's the report. The last
Correct.
thing we worked on was the blah, blah, and that was 6
Right.
months ago, and there's nothing new come across our path. And then that's when we go, wow, nothing new came across our path. We need to be utilizing this group, or do we need this group? Or whatever.
Right.
Well-
We could-
Need the,
yeah.
I think probably we can resolve that simply by saying, having the city manager say that committee has had nothing in front of them for the past month, and like the Charter Review Committee, we've just reviewed the charter. We don't really need to do that. There may be a couple of things here or there, but at this point, we don't really need to go through the charter, I wouldn't think, for another 5 years.
Probably
disagree.
A thorough one.
Well, I mean, as far as a charter review committee, we don't need to go over the entire charter.
Correct, and that was their purpose, was to go through the whole thing, but in May, I'll be bringing a couple charter amendments for the board to discuss that I think that are needed
Yeah, but
to do with the election and stuff.
well, yeah, but I don't know if we really need a charter review
No.
committee to do a charter here or there to go over them. I mean, that's just one opinion. But sometimes we get kind of carried away on having a lot of committees. The bid review committee, I mean, you got to take the lowest bid, right?
Unless there's a justifiable reason to take somebody else.
Yeah.
Correct.
So do we really need a bid review committee?
Well, I think that's kind of oversight over the manager that you have, and it's totally your decision on what you want to do. But I think realistically, I'm getting bids, prices on things that are even, less than $10,000. I mean, I'm always looking for the best deal.
Sure.
But, you know, as we get into those contractual service issues and everything else, I think it's good to have somebody else take a look at it. And I like the fact that, because it adds to that transparency that I think we should have. And, you know, and obviously if it's an issue where it's over $15,000, it comes back before you all, and at least you have an idea that somebody else looked at it besides management, and again, just have that reassurance and that transparency.
Okay. All right.
And look, with no disrespect, we haven't been going through the proper procedures for a very, very long time here. There's a lot of things that were over $15,000, and I'm not just talking about you, Bob, or anything else. I'm talking about over the course of the last few years that have just gone through the system, and you know, it's very convenient to throw in a reason why we accepted another bid. But, you know, there's going to be some economic hardships that this city is going to endure because of what's going on. Every dollar counts now. And I don't, you know, any major purchase should have 3 bids. I mean, that's the rules I was taught. Anything over $1,000, we needed 3 bids on it. We needed 3 prices on it. Anything over $15,000 obviously needed to go in front of the bid committee and go in front of the board. So I just think that we need to get back to that, because I don't think we're really following the rules. And that's, you know, again, we're off topic here. I don't really want to beat this, but I think that, you know, we got to be more fiscally responsible.
So we'll add this as number 18 to your list, Doug? I like it. Okay.
In regards to what Commissioner Price, in regards to what Commissioner Price was asking about the committees coming in and briefing the commission, you know, 1 or 2 every month, we've asked for that before, but the only one that has ever come in was the Charter Committee, and the Planning Commission has come in many times. So, but we have asked for all of them to come in, you know, if they had, like, let's say the bid committee, which you were just talking about, if they have nothing, then the city manager can say the bid committee has nothing this month. But if they looked at anything at all, they should be coming in and briefing the commission.
Civil Service Commission has also come in.
I stand corrected. You're correct.
Well,
I think
good.
they came in once or twice, yeah.
Then they won't be surprised when we start requiring that. If I recall coming to meetings where committee heads were asked to come and speak, the Planning Commission for one, recently, and I think it's very helpful. So I just thought, maybe after we determine which ones are active and useful and helpful, then we start putting them on a schedule to come in and give a report, or even a written.
I think the real problem in the past was, it was the authority. So who oversaw these committees? I mean, there was big arguments about, you know, hey, oh, well, the Civil Service Board has a problem. Oh, well, they report to the city manager. Well, wait a minute. This issue is in regards to the city manager. How can the city manager oversee a committee that is investigating him for a problem? This is a board that reports to us. Right. You know, bid committees, if we're not finding bids being properly maintained, why aren't we investigating that? Oh, well, wait a minute, well, that's the city manager function. Well, clearly here it doesn't say that. Clearly here, these are boards that report to the Board of Commissioners. And I brought this up before in the past, and it's always been poo-pooed away. But, you know, these are our extension. These are our right arms. These are our people that we don't, you know, look, we're not full-time politicians. So we need these committees in order to get us the proper information and do a lot of the legwork for us. And if we don't have the oversight on them, then what good is it even having them? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with this. It was kind of like the earlier thing about Section 4.6 B and C. Yeah, you know, we're allowed to make suggestions. We're allowed to talk about things, administrative things in public. We're allowed to talk about anything we want. Okay, there's no taboo. There's no off limits. Okay, there's certain things that, you know, will be said, hey, those aren't your responsibilities, but we're allowed to discuss anything we want to do. Okay? Any of our charter officers, if we see issues with some way they're handling their business, it's not like, oh, that's an administrative function. No. They are our employees. They are our reports. Their oversight is our responsibility. And we have to maintain that. We have to look into that. So if there's an issue, we can't just say, oh, well, that'll work itself out. No, we gotta be more proactive.
Yeah, I agree. And for example, the Civil Service Commission, although it was an arm of the Board of Commissioners, and it was appointed by the Board of Commissioners, I don't think it was correct. It was run by the city manager at the time, and really was, I felt, this is just my personal opinion, I felt like it was kind of run pretty hard in the way it was done, and the way it was handled, and the way some of our meetings were handled by the then city manager. But something we do need to do is that we need to look at these qualifications on the people that are being put on boards, because we need to get some professional expertise on these boards rather than getting a seat in the chair. And one place we have a problem is in getting residents to put in to be on these commissions or on these boards, because frankly, Madeira Beach is getting younger and younger, and many people work, and we can't have a meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and expect to get volunteers, good volunteers, professional folks that would probably like to do this. But we need to look more at getting our meetings in the evenings to where these people can do it, and let them set their meetings up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon if they want to, and have a meeting, rather than at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, to where the brunt of the major part of the people can't either go or even be a member and participate. So I know we're getting way off subject, but that's my 2 cents worth.
If I can just seek some clarification and back up a couple steps, and I agree with you, those committees should meet when it's convenient for those committees. And we should have expertise, like on the Planning Commission, there should be maybe a seat where somebody has architectural experience or, engineering experience or something. And I don't know what the happy medium balance is, because you want to make sure you have that feedback on a committee as well. But getting back to the reports at the meeting, we've had luck with having the Planning Commission chairperson. Mike has been here when issues have come up for discussion. Obviously, we're kind of hampered right now with the situation that we're in, but I think continuing to do that, and then on those, I can definitely report back to you on the committees that haven't met or haven't done anything in that particular vein. We have utilized the bid committee, but just keep in mind that some of these people, I know you talked about people at work during the daytime, but we also have people at work, shift work, or might not be able to make the meeting here at the commission level. But if I can give you some type of a report from them as to what they did that month, and then maybe whenever it's convenient for that chairperson or their stand-in to be here at a commission meeting, we can kind of do it that way, if that's okay with y'all.
Just add to our agenda committee reports.
Right.
Yes.
And we can put
then
that
we can
as we get
hear
into
something
the
every
agenda.
month.
And then whoever we have reports for, I'll give to Clara ahead of time, and she can put it in. And then we'll ask for a representative of that board to be here, and maybe that chairperson submits it as well. But whatever that report is, you'll have in your packet, and we'll ask if the chairperson can be here. So if you have a question on that particular report or what happened, you'll be able to ask it directly of the chairperson or their designee.
Well, why don't we start just by asking them to all submit us a report of what they've done for the last 3 months, and know that once a month they're going to be contacted, like via email, saying, do you have anything to add to the, I've got to do a report, do you have anything to add to the commission meeting? And we're gonna know which ones are active and have hot things going on, and only then do we require them to show up in person. I mean, they're doing a lot for us already. We don't need them to come to every meeting.
Well, and if we're going to do this, so that they're not here waiting a good part of the night, maybe we
we
could
do it
just
first.
change the order and do them first, so that if they've got other things to do, they can come, give their report, and answer any questions we might have, and then take off and go pick their kids up from
call it
baseball
in.
or whatever. Call it in.
Call it in.
Yeah, this is 2021.
Yeah,
Yep. I don't know if we're going to get to the meeting order, but yeah, that's
we are.
something that
We're
I
gonna,
think-
come on.
Well,
Well, we got 2 o'clock.
I know.
yeah.
I'm willing to stay a little later.
You know,
but-
we have never set the time for the different committees to meet. We've always left that 100% up to them. The only one that I know for sure that meets in the evening is the Planning Commission, and that meets on Monday at 6. But the other committees, that has been 100% up to them. So, and I think it should stay up to them, you know, when they feel best to do that.
I agree with you.
Well, I agree to a certain extent. The problem is that you're eliminating your pool of candidates by doing that.
No, he's just saying that they meet when they can, when they just,
Well, I know, but
not that they
everything,
decide who's on the committee with them.
no, all I've seen, though, they all meet during the day. And so, and City Clerk, if you'll step in here, I don't know that you get a lot of candidates for that reason. What is your feeling on that?
Well, they do set their own schedule. That's the last, since 94, working in the clerk's office, since 1994, the city boards, they set their, because they're volunteers, a lot of them's elderly people, and they set their time in their schedule. Here lately, I've been getting quite a few applications. We have civil service appointment coming up. And the
Okay.
civil service, I think, is supposed to be, I'll have to check it, supposed to be meeting quarterly, and I'll try to get them together. They're supposed to go periodically, be looking at the personnel manual to see if it's working, to see if there needs to be some tweaks, and see if there's been any problems, to make sure everybody's following it. So, and plus, they set the classification, they get involved in the salary and all that, and come up with a pay plan, and so I think Walt will be working with them here soon on that,
Yeah, I was just wondering if you were,
because that's
if you
something
were
the budget
getting
committee don't do.
candidates
Could
signing
we-
up. That was, go
Could
ahead.
we have Kurt or someone send out a questionnaire asking residents if they would be on a board, would they prefer day or evening or whatever? And if a lot of them come back, say the day's fine, then okay, we leave them alone. If they come back, a lot of them say, well, I'd like to get on a board, but they're during the day, and I prefer to be at night because I work, then we need to look at that. But right now, we're guessing because we don't know who wants to volunteer and what time of day is available to them. So I think we need to set up some type of questionnaire, format something to send out and ask the residents what their opinions are.
It's a good idea.
Well, it just needs to be on the I mean, when you
Yeah.
notice, of course, number one, I don't know how people find out when these openings occur. I'm on the email list for the city, I never get them. So I don't know when they happen. But we need a better way of distributing, hey, we have an opening on the library board or the civil service or whatever. This is a quick paragraph of what it's about, and then the application for it should ask the person, when can you meet? And then
Right.
I'd say definitely leave it up to these volunteers to meet when they want to.
Ever since Kurt's been putting out a press release, letting people know that we have vacancies, we've had more responses to people wanting to serve. And I agree, we should add a little more when they meet and everything, and they can let us know.
Well, no, we don't
within their
add
schedule.
when they meet.
Oh, okay.
They
No, I
decide when they
mean,
meet.
Their schedule, I mean, they already
Yeah.
have set. Little
Just
bit of
like the number of
something.
times expected or something, maybe, but.
Right, I'm talking about the schedule they already have. Let's say they have 7 members and we only need 1. They already have a schedule for the year. If they know when they're gonna meet and what it's about, we can draw some interest there too, because 5 people that put in say, well, I can't meet at 10 in the morning, or I can't meet at 6. But if they know the schedule ahead of time, we just have the information on the website with the application about each board, and I think we just got to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think, yeah, we're
We'll
getting
look
way
at
off
that,
topic,
but,
so
yeah,
Yeah.
but
let's,
I don't know. So we're not gonna get this done unless we get moving.
that's. Okay, 1, if attending a board or committee meeting, be careful to avoid influencing the board or committee's consideration or prejudicing the Board of Commissioners' eventual consideration.
I have no changes on the entire section 6,
Okay,
which goes on to page 10. Does anybody else?
no, I do want to point out something here that has not been followed in the past. I want to be sure that
Right.
it is in the future, and that is the item 2, the 3rd bullet point, last sentence. A board or committee appointment shall not be used as a political reward for assistance in any campaign activities. I want to be sure that's followed by everyone. And if there's any other input, I guess that was just a statement. It wasn't really meant for anything
You know, one of the
else.
other things that we tried to do on the committees is that if there was, 4 seats, or if there was 5 seats, let's say, we try to get people from different districts. So if it's the planning commission, let's say, we'd try to get somebody from District 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then whoever the 5th one is, didn't matter. But to keep, because if we, and I understand what the city manager was saying before, we're looking for someone who's got an engineering degree or whatever, But if everybody comes out of District 3 or District 2 or District 4, doesn't matter, I don't think that's right. I think it really needs to be divided across the board from all the districts. Yes, we might not get the applications, and we might have to bring more from District X versus the other district, or some district might have nobody at all. But I think one of the things we really need to strongly look at is making it diversified across the whole city, from one end of the city to the other, when we are picking applicants.
Have you noticed any kind of clumping of people from a certain district where they were benefiting their own district in the past? I think we're getting into the
No,
minutiae.
I remember at one point we had and I can't remember which board it was from. I don't know if it was the budget or I don't remember. But we had 3 of the 5 applicants were from one district. And it's been a long time ago. But we talked about that while we were sitting up there and tried to say, we need to be diversified across the whole city, if possible. And that's the key word, if possible. If all the applications we got are from one district, then we have no choice. But
Yeah, well,
if
maybe
at all possible, we need to diversify as much as possible.
And maybe we make that a factor to consider when we're making appointments. Because I know many times it looks like there's 3 very qualified people in for 2 seats. And maybe that could be one of the reasons that we pick one person over the other. But
Yeah, I mean,
unless we
John,
notice
I get
somebody-
I get where you're going with it. I think the main thing we have to start concentrating on is the most qualified candidate, and not so much in, I mean, we're only 2 miles long. We all live pretty close to one another anyway, regardless of the districts. But I think we really got to start looking at the qualifications of a candidate and their ability to, help us out on these boards, other than people that have voted for certain people or anything else along the line there. We got some boards that are stacked with, and that's why maybe the charter idea isn't, to take a look at it isn't the worst idea ever. We had a very, focused group that was on that, and, we obviously had a lot of referendums and a lot of things that went across, and not all of them were agreed with by everybody. And I think, once a referendum goes out, I think we all know this, if it doesn't pass, there's something really wrong. A referendum people should be voting at the end. They're voting at the end of after they vote for their candidates and everything like that, they race right through it and usually vote yes for everything. So I think we have to take kind of a look at some of the things that have passed. I think we got to take a look at the charter again maybe through a fresh set of eyes. That's all. I just think we had a very focused group on the last group of things that went across.
Okay.
I'm on the I don't know what it's called, the budget, whatever. It was between Doug and myself who was going to be on it, and I lost the flip of the coin, so I had to be on the board. But it's dealing with the budget.
The audit.
And on that committee, there's a CPA. I mean, there's some very qualified people, but I don't know if they're from across the city or not, to be very honest with you. I'm not sure. But if everybody on that board was from, let's say, the Johns Pass area, they're going to want to see all the money going to that area rather than to the rest of the beach, the rest of the city and all. So I think that's why I'm asking that we look at it from the whole city, the entirety of it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that point, especially on the budget committee. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
And it's our job to recognize that. If we notice all the money going to one area, right? That's our job. This is an advisory group giving us their thoughts. If we think there's some sort of bias going on, then we address it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind. These are just simply advisory boards. So any other concerns going down through item 4?
You mean 6?
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yep. Number 7, board members attending meetings or serving as members of another public board. Does anyone have any questions on this?
No.
Okay. Number 8, commission contact with the media.
No changes, no questions?
Yeah, I'm good with all that.
Commissioner Douthert, are you good with the rest of this down all the way through
Yep, all good.
item 8?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hodges?
I'm fine.
Okay. Item 9, amendments.
So we have until, about June 17, April, May, June, to get a final, so that gives us enough time to get another draft and quickly look over it, or, okay?
Maybe do another meeting like this.
Yeah, this
Let's-
probably,
Let's agree to delete Article 2 completely
Yeah, I'm
out of
gonna-
this document.
If it's okay with y'all, I'll incorporate that in our document that we go by, because that's really, we're going to be coming back to you with some of these ideas, and we're going to do the presentations here, so.
Right.
Okay. How about we call it a day and start with Article 3 and then continue on the goal-setting meeting? Is that it?
Sooner rather than later.
Y'all want to take a week off,
Take a week off. No,
or do you want to do it? Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry.
You're killing me, Happy.
What? No, we should have gotten
What's-
through that.
What's good for you? Don't
Hey,
tell
I'm-
me, God, don't tell me tomorrow.
Don't ask me. I don't have another job.
Same time, Monday or Tuesday?
Doug?
We got a meeting Tuesday.
Monday, do we have a meeting Tuesday?
I think so.
No.
We're
We
getting
don't?
a week from Tuesday, we have a meeting. Yeah, I mean,
Want to
I'm
look at
good
my
either day, as
phone?
long as it's
Well, I'm on-
after 11 o'clock, so.
Commissioner Douthard, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh.
What is the recommendation?
Well, I think they're trying to look for a day next week, Mr. Mayor, or?
Yeah, or even, what is
Wednesday
today?
next work works for me.
Wednesday of next week?
Wednesday?
Or Tuesday. Tuesday would be better, but yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner
Either one.
Price, Tuesday? Is that good?
Tuesday's fine with me, the 21st?
Same time?
Yeah, let's
12
make it,
o'clock?
Okay.
eat before you get here.
Commissioner Hodges, is Tuesday, 12 o'clock good
That's
for you?
fine. That's
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, before you cancel, call the meeting, I did have a conversation today with a potential interim city attorney. We all do know him, regardless of the earlier comments in the public comment section. I spoke to Tom Trask, and he'd be interested in talking to either you, Mr. Mayor, or the city manager about potentially taking on the role as interim city manager, if we'd like him. You know, I've worked with Tom before, when I worked here at the city. I never worked with him as a board member. I know Commissioner Hodges probably has. You know, he represents his firm represents 9 coastal cities here in Pinellas County. You know, I don't know about these hiccups and all these hiccups that were brought up earlier today, but as far as when I've worked with him, probably the most professional guy I've ever worked with, and he represents an entire firm, and they have all different areas of expertise as well, so we don't have to go out and get multiple outside attorneys to do any of our other work, like real estate or labor attorneys or things like that. They will have all those under one roof. I told him I would get back to him, or I'd have one of you guys get back to him to discuss that, but it's certainly open for discussion.
I agree, we need to get a firm that has multiple skills as far as our legal advice goes. I would have no problem meeting with him with City Manager Daniels, but I also think individually probably Commissioner Price and Commissioner Hodges and Commissioner Dothert for that matter. Dothert, I'm so sorry, that's habit, and part of that's my southern accent. Meet with him also. I feel like Commissioner Price in particular with her legal skills would be better fit to ask a lot of the tough questions to them to see if that may be the firm to go to on an interim basis. That's just
Yeah,
my
I'll be
2
talking to
cents.
him about the public comment, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to meet with them, along with whoever.
I'm fine with that if you can get with him and get with the city manager and set up meetings, and I'll make myself available.
And, you know, timing's of the essence. We do have 30 days for a transition period, and we certainly don't want to waste any of them, if at all possible. So I'll chat with Bob and have him get a hold of you guys and try to plan something else out. But like I said, I've dealt with him before. I've had actually no issues at all, and I think he's, his firm's terrific. And like I said, you're not representing, he's got local knowledge. We're not going out and finding an attorney that doesn't live here. We've got somebody with local knowledge that knows these beaches back and forth, and, I think it's it's a real big asset to have somebody that can do that for us, so.
Okay. And is that RFP out, or is it about to come out?
No, we haven't.
We haven't even approved it yet, I don't think, yeah. Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I think that's what we probably should do, is have
Yeah.
our interim attorney probably take a look at
Okay,
it.
I know we went over it the other day. Okay, with that, any other questions? It's 2:04. This meeting is adjourned.